Hey there! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 274 is titled A Sneak Peek into Flute 360's 5-Day Challenge, Part 1. Founded in Dallas, Texas in 1996, the Carolyn Nesbaugh Music Company is renowned for its international service for flutists of all levels. The Carolyn Nesbaugh Music Company is your premier resource for everything flute. Their selection of flutes, piccolos, low flutes, and head joints from dozens of makers is truly remarkable. Also, their offerings of sheet music, instrumental accessories, teaching and health resources are unmatched. Their in-house staff offers an unparalleled level of expert knowledge and personal service with an in-house repair staff certified in all major brands. Follow the Carolyn Nesbaugh Music Company through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter to be updated with the latest news. Check out their website at fluteforyou.com. The Carolyn Nesbaugh Music Company is truly your one-stop flute shop. Hey there, Flute 360er. Do I have a special treat for you? Not quite sure if you know this, but at the beginning of December 2023, I hosted a phenomenal 5-day Flute 360 challenge. I put this together for you. I know that you want to thrive on and off your musical stage. You want to say goodbye to performance anxiety and hello to self-assurance. I want to see you kill it in 2024 and beyond on the stage for your auditions, recitals, and juries, and off the stage through networking events, building out your career, and more. So what I did was I put together some gems and valuable content for y'all in this 5-day challenge. Now, I am taking out some of those gems, just 10-minute highlights, and throwing them into a 5-part podcast series. So in this 5-day challenge, we met every evening in the beginning of December of 2023. And not only do we meet in group settings, but also through more intimate settings like the VIP session. So I share this with you because I wanted you to know in context where this material is coming from. So over the course of the next 2.5 weeks, you will see 10-minute sneak peeks into these Facebook Lives. So my invitation from me to you is if you want to continue this transformation and continue to understand more about my Flute 360 storytelling method, I highly encourage you to click the link below to access the Flute 360 Launchpad. If you go to www.flute360.com/launchpad or click the link below, you will have access to the entire 5-day challenge and its videos. So I don't want you to miss out. This opportunity is only available from now until December 31st, 2023. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy. So what I want to do before I start giving you this fantastic method is I need you to understand a little bit about me and my origin roots, so that way you can see how all of this journey for myself and Flute 360 has unfolded. So even before Flute 360, we're going to go back to young Heidi. And I'm going to be asking you to do the same exact thing for yourself. So take note, okay? So before DMAs and degrees and Flute 360 podcasts, if you looked at young Heidi, and you're going to see this later in an example, one of the traits, one of my pillars of my origin story was I love to share. I was a talker. I was a social butterfly. And you're going to see why I'm sharing this here in a minute. And I'm the eldest of three kids. It's myself, my brother Eric, and my sister Catherine. And going around, my mom would introduce us to family and friends and say, oh, this is my son Eric, my daughter Catherine. Oh, and this is my other daughter, the talker. I was referred to as the talker from my family and my friends who loved me very much. And that's how God made me. That's who he made me to be. And because of that, I didn't even think twice. That's how I approached everything. School, ballet lessons, piano lessons, flute lessons, going into grocery stores, making new friends with strangers. That's just who I was. That's how I functioned in my world. And fast forward, like many of us, we meet people who get us and people who don't get us. And unfortunately, when I went off to college and grad school, a lot of professors and peers and colleagues, without them, meaning to deflate me, they would just, say out loud, oh, wow, you're a talker. And in my brain, I interpreted that as a negative connotation. I thought, oh, like I'm not supposed to talk. I'm not supposed to be bubbly. And that was my own fault. And that was something that I noticed was happening to me over time, where I felt the need to deflate that social butterfly personality, that talker personality. And so what I was doing over time was, through my different degrees, I was trying to fit in. I was trying to blend in, okay? And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I can't be the only one. How many people in this room right now have felt deflated to some degree of feeling like they really couldn't be their unique self, where they felt like they had to blend in? I know I'm not the only one. And so by doing this over the years, I didn't put this together. I didn't put together this correlation until much later, until I became a podcaster. And so you're going to see this aha moment reveal itself later. But I was deflating myself. I was trying to fit in. And it's kind of like a peacock trying to be a crow. And not that crows aren't beautiful, but I was built to be a peacock. And so I was, hiding those feathers. I was trying to hide that blue teal color of the body. And I was trying to look like a crow. And fast forward, when I started becoming a podcaster, I realized how detrimental that was for my playing and for my career. Imagine like this social butterfly Heidi, who that's how she was in her world. That personality was stripped away. I stifled that. I put a lid over that. So when it came time for me to present myself, whether on a stage to be a presenter, right, giving school projects, presenting at conferences, I wasn't happy. I wasn't joyful because I wasn't truly myself. I really, truly wasn't stepping into and embodying my true self. I was trying to fit in. And I am so convinced that this is one of the reasons why flutists and musicians in general, but since I'm speaking to flutists, that this is why flutists have staggering performance anxiety. Their performance anxiety is through the roof. And I'm convinced that this is one of the factors why this is so apparent in our music industry. So one of my missions is, as a music educator, as a flute coach, is to start getting everybody to really believe who they are as a unique individual to their core, so that way their voice, whether it's spoken or their flute voice, can transcend on and off their stage. Okay. So inadvertently, I wasn't feeling confident. I was trying to muffle my voice, and performance anxiety was going through the roof. Imposter syndrome was going through the roof. And I was thinking, who are you to go to this competition? Who are you to submit a proposal to this conference? And the ripple effect, these negative ripple effects went on and on and on. And maybe you resonate with something very similar to that as well. And so it affected my playing, it affected my career. I didn't want to show up for recital opportunities, for performing opportunities, because I thought I wasn't good enough. I was always comparing myself to other flutists. So over time, throughout those 3 degrees, I really lost sight of who I was. I lost sight of my voice. And honestly, there was something in me that was stirring up, that was bubbling inside of me. And I was like, I can't take it anymore. Something has to change. And the way it changed was very organic. And this was something that was unplanned. And even though it was unplanned, unbeknownst to me, this is how my story unfolded. And I'm so excited to share it with you, because I know you can start implementing and taking these actions too. So you can start seeing your transformation. And so you can start getting your voice back if you felt, or if you feel like you've lost it over time. So the vehicle that gave me my voice back actually ended up being my dissertation, my podcast, which is called Flute 360. This was unplanned. This was something that was very organic. And I'm so blessed and I'm so thankful that this is how it unfolded for me. Because now with these truths and with these nuggets, I know we can transform other flutists and their studios and their lives. So that way we have lots of great Flute 360ers on the stage, off the stage, killing it in their playing and throughout their career endeavors. So I want the same for you. So I've already mapped out this heartache. I've already painted this picture to you of saying like, man, when I went up to that jury or that flute recital or that wind symphony concert, that orchestra audition, I would shake uncontrollably. The performance anxiety, the stage fright was through the roof. I'd be shaking really hard and, sweaty palms, dry mouth, you name it, I experienced it. And again, I share this, I share these intimate stories from this vulnerable place because that's what I'm going to be asking you to do soon. Okay. The more you share, the more you pull out these stories and just be an observer, just notice and go, that's interesting. No judgment, just being an observer and going, oh, that's interesting. What can I do? What action can I take? Right. I share this with you and I share my stage fright with you because, again, I know I'm not alone. A lot of my Flute 360 students and clients deal with this. And I have seen their transformations as they have worked with me in the studio, the accelerator program, coaching packages, and through the storytelling method. And I am so stoked that hopefully you will see the same results for you and for your career as well. So I was stifling myself. I wouldn't put myself out there because that dreaded stage fright was there. And I didn't want to face that reality. I didn't like going up on stage and putting myself out there. Okay. But on the flip side, like all of us, I wanted a successful flute career. I wanted to teach. I wanted to get the gigs. So you can see that it was like oil and water. It just wasn't melting together. It wasn't stirring together. And there was that conflict and that friction that I just wanted to go away. So I knew my God-given purpose was to teach. I knew I saw myself holding a mentorship position, a teacher position, having a studio. And I knew that I had to, and I'm saying this very loosely, I knew I had to a certain degree, take control, get control of this anxiety because I knew it was going to have this negative ripple effect into my career and my playing if I couldn't find the joy in sharing my music or sharing my thoughts within our niche, if I was always letting that stage fright overtake my goals. I was tired of making these decisions based out of fear rather than making decisions and saying, oh, I want to do this because this is going to bring me joy. This is going to help me grow, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't want my investments to go to waste. So now we're at the stage where I received my bachelor's, I received my master's, I received my doctoral degree. I did all the lessons. I invested in the instruments, all the flutes and piccolos, music, lessons. You know, your investment within and the time and energy and the monetary investments that you put into your playing, into your career are noticed. I see you. I know you're showing up for yourself, and I know you're investing in yourself. But when that oil and that water and there's that friction and it's not flowing the way you want it to, it's almost like, hands up in the air, like I'm giving up, but I don't want to give up, right? So I kept hitting this wall time and time again, and I was investing in my studies, I was investing in these degrees, and I still was battling with this. It was so frustrating. And it was not just affecting my playing, it was affecting my career. It was affecting the opportunities that I was trying to build for myself. So now, fast forward to the end of my DMA, as we all know, comes a time when you have to declare your topic for your dissertation. And along the same time, what's happening is I'm taking these traditional courses and I'm finishing up this doctoral degree. And Eric, while we are in Lubbock, Texas, he is supporting me. He is providing for our family. And his bread and butter is being a podcast producer. He's editing video and audio for podcasters in different niches from across the globe. And he's learning a lot from this digital platform. And the insights that he acquired through podcasting and watching these podcast hosts flourish on their own platform, he goes, hey, Heidi, this may be for you. This may be your thing. Because go back to young Heidi, when we dated and being married for so long, Eric knew who I was at my core. He knew that I was that social butterfly, that peacock. He knew I loved to share. He knew I loved to make friends and make connections. And he saw that podcasting platform as a space for me to do that, for me to share my story, for me to interview other flutists and musicians to hear their story, and then produce it and put it out through the airwaves so flutists like you could benefit from these stories, from these relationships. And so I said, okay, yeah, let me go ahead and produce this podcast and let's see where it takes me. And I will say, I didn't know what I was doing to a certain degree. I didn't know too much about podcasting in the beginning. I took a stab at it, I tried it, and I just kept implementing and taking action to get better and better. Okay. So now I've put together Flute 360, baby Flute 360. We're in the early stages of the podcast. I graduated and check off the box, done. Right? And so post DMA, I continue the podcast in the background to my job searches, to putting myself out there for proposals and competitions. The podcast is happening in the background as I'm applying to these new opportunities. And I had this wonderful opportunity to compete in Cluj-Napoca, Romania in 2019. And I was blown away. I was baffled that I got to experience something so great at the international level. So here I am, like all of you do, raise the bar again, and again, and to see what's possible for yourself and for your growth. And so I did that thinking, okay, I'm going to fight this performance anxiety. I'm going to figure it out one way or another. Let me start going into the competition pool. And so I went to Romania and to fund, and I think a lot of you will get a kick out of hearing this story because so many of you make the same sacrifices. But to get to this competition that was an international competition, it's going to cost a pretty penny. So what did I do? I sold my black Hyundai Elantra car to fund this trip. Now, I love that car, so it was a big deal for me to sell that vehicle to get to that competition. But I was willing to make that sacrifice because I knew I had something special in me, like I know you do, and like how you feel. I knew I had something special in me to share with my tribe, with my people, but I just didn't know how I was going to get over this hurdle of performance anxiety. So I went to this competition, and yet again, my performance anxiety got in the way. I didn't get to round number 2, and I was devastated because I put so much time into lessons and dress rehearsals and recitals and recording sessions to be fully prepared for this competition. And I felt like my internal, and maybe if any of you resonate with this, feel free to comment in the Facebook Live. And it felt like for me that my internal preparation was not matching my external results. It was like I was looking at a different Heidi. It was like I'm showing up, I'm practicing every day, I'm taking the lessons, I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do. Why then, when I get on stage, I fall apart, I crumble. And it's as if, back then, it was almost as if I didn't even know how to play the flute anymore. I didn't even know my name anymore. That's how shook I was with stage fright. And it was really frustrating. And so I wasn't able to go past round 2, right? We came home, I went back to the job boards and started doing job searches and all that jazz. And my podcast continued. I continued to show up. I continued to interview people. I continued to share my story. And so the reason why this is important for me to share this with you is because, like any creative project, whether it is a social media page, a YouTube channel, an ebook, a dissertation, it doesn't matter. You know just as well as I do that anything like that is going to take some time, money, energy, some sort of investment if you want to do it well. So as I was building my podcast, I had that mentality. I want to do this well. I want to put out some really good work. And because of that, I was building my business around it. I was bringing in great Flute 360'ers through lessons and coaching programs. And the business building, the podcast building side of things really sucked up a lot of my time in a very good way. I was very blessed and I loved the work, and I loved the work back then too, but it was really sucking up a lot of my time. So because of that, I wasn't able to practice much. And of course, that was, a little frustrating because it was like, oh, I love playing flute so much. But when you build a business and you've got your hands on that bad boy, it takes time, and it takes time to do it well. So when I was building out these opportunities for myself, though, in terms of playing at churches and venues and ceremonies and other competitions, even though I wasn't practicing as much as I was during my degree programs, I wasn't practicing as much. But when I did show up to the flute and practice and perform, the biggest aha moment I had was, oh my goodness, why is my stage fright decreasing? It didn't make sense. In my mind, being away from the flute, being away from practicing for so long as I'm building out the business, you would think the opposite would happen. You would think that my stage fright and the imposter syndrome would actually be going through the roof. And actually, the results were opposite. I was feeling more comfortable in my own skin. My confidence was going through the roof. I knew my musical intentions that I wanted to say through my instruments, and I felt comfortable, and it felt like the music was flowing out of me very organically, and I couldn't figure it out at first. But the more I sat with this and the more I pondered on this, I realized, and my aha moment was, oh my goodness, I am seeing amazing results because I am a podcaster, because I keep showing up day in and day out, week in and week out, and having these conversations with friends and colleagues, sharing my story, hearing their story, getting in front of a microphone and a camera every single day. That was the deep work I needed in order to amplify my flute voice. And that blew my mind. And that's what I want for you. So you don't have to tonight decide if you wanted to, feel free. You don't have to tonight decide like you're going to be a full-time podcaster by tomorrow morning, but you can take the podcasting lessons I have learned these last 270 episodes in these last 5 years, and you can take these nuggets and start implementing it, even if it's bit by bit, baby step by baby step, and implementing it within your practice sessions or your career world. You're going to start seeing results. Thank you so much for listening to this mini-sode. Now, I know I just gave you a little glimpse into the world of the 5-day challenge. So this storytelling method is explained in more depth through these 5 bonus videos. If you want to have access to these videos and its content, all you have to do is click the link below, and that's going to take you to flute360.com/launchpad. Your future self will thank you. Talk to you soon. Let's talk about Flute.